Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Masters of Scale Strategy Session presented in alliance with Capital One Business. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Jodine Dorsey. I'm the VP of Live Events here at Wait What, the company behind Masters of Scale. While we get started, please continue to introduce yourselves in the chat. And if you have any thoughts or questions throughout this session, feel free to also put them in the chat. I'm pointing this way because that's where the chat should be. Networking and learning is what this event is all about. Strategy Session is our live virtual event where the Masters of Scale community gathers to connect, co-elevate, and grow. Because May is National Small Business Month, we designed this event around a very timely theme. It's called the Small Business Playbook. Did you know that small businesses account for 99.9% of all businesses in the United States? And they employ nearly half of America's workforce? That doesn't sound very small to me. So in today's session, real entrepreneurs facing big challenges will be calling our Masters of Scale hotline to get live advice from our expert co-host. We'll be covering the do's and don'ts and the game time decisions that founders are facing today. I guarantee the insights that you hear will resonate with you, whether you're running a small business, a nonprofit, or a startup that's on its way to scale. Speaking of folks in the chat, we want to hear from you. So there's an opening question to get us started. What have you found to be the most useful skill as a founder and business leader? What's your superpower that helps you thrive? Drop your answers in the chat. Our moderators will pick 2 of their favorite responses, and the winners will receive a special gift from the Masters of Scale community at the end of today's show. Now, before we introduce our hosts, I want to take a minute to shout out our brand partner, Capital One Business. Not only are they aligned with our mission to empower business owners everywhere, they make events like this possible. I'm happy to share this short welcome message from one of our friends at Capital One, Bill Tenbush.
Hi, Jodine, and hello, Strategy Session attendees. My name is Bill Tenbush. I'm the VP of Customer Marketing and Marketing Technology at Capital One Business. My team and I are focused on connecting with and reaching out to small business owners, founders, and entrepreneurs just like you. We explain how our products can give them the freedom and stability they need to scale their business to the next level. Growing up, my parents were small business owners, so I know the passion and commitment it takes to scale an idea to an enterprise. And I also know the roadblocks that can come up and get in the way of success. I'm really looking forward to today's session and hearing our hosts give a little insight into how entrepreneurs can overcome those roadblocks and turn their passion into profit. On behalf of Capital One Business, thanks so much for joining us and being part of the conversation. Back to you, Jodine.
Thank you so much, Bill. With that, let's get this strategy session going. She's a former CEO of the executive coaching company Exos, former president of Equinox Fitness Clubs, the author of Extreme You, and a master at optimizing performance without burnout. Now, he's the co-founder and CEO of the board game developer Exploding Kittens, a dynamic creative force and an expert in growing passionate fan bases with outside-the-box thinking. Please join me in welcoming Sarah Robb O'Hagan and Elan Lee. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Elan.
Hi there.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Awesome. Super excited to be here because I love that it's Small Business Month. Don't you, Elan?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thanks for having this. I think this is going to be fun. I got to admit, this is my first ever call-in attempt. So we'll see how this goes.
We shall see. Well, we're excited that both of you are here. I want to give you some time to chat before our first caller. So I'll be back at the end of the show, and I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I am going to just start us off tonight because, Elan, you have done it all as a founder. And I want you to share with me, what have you found to be the most useful skill you had as a founder and a business leader? I wonder how it compares to what I would say.
I really want to hear your answer. All right. You're putting me on the spot here. Okay. So I know that we asked that question to the audience before we began. And I was looking at some of those answers and thought, like, my default answer, the thing that I wanted to say was, I think I'm really good at communicating, but that felt very generic and it felt very bland. And it actually felt like the antithesis of saying I'm good at communicating. So I thought, well, what is it about communication that I think I've been successful at in the past? And I'm going to tell you a quick little story. I promise this won't take too long.
Go.
I'm the oldest. Yeah. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And that means that growing up, it was always my job to entertain everybody, right? To come up with the games and go out in the backyard and invent stuff and play stuff and basically like keep all my siblings happy. And my siblings range, like there's a 16-year age gap between me and my youngest sibling. Yeah. And so we all have different interests and different attention spans and different communication styles. And I realized that was like the perfect training for me to learn how to communicate effectively. And in one very particular skill, which is providing context. And I think that has helped me as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, more than almost anything else I can think of. And how many times have you had a conversation with someone and they're talking and you have to ask this very fundamental clarifying question, right? You're like, wait, which project are we talking about? Wait, which meeting was that, right? Like context is missing. And the reason it's missing is because they didn't start at step 1. They started at like step 4 or 5. Step 1 through 3 is in their head, right? And they're just assuming you've caught up with them. Yep. I'm really good at starting at step 1. Really good at that. So there you go.
I love that insight. You are so right, because I have to tell you the number of times I've had that problem of you think you're clearly communicating a vision and half of it's in your head and the other person doesn't yet know. Yeah. And guess what? Fun fact, I'm the youngest of 4.
Ooh, look at that.
So we both know what that means. So it's funny because I think you're totally right that like the skills you get that make you, good at entrepreneurship do come from your upbringing a little bit. Because I would say that one of my greatest skills was related to communication, but sort of brand building and getting people really excited by an idea. And hearing you, I'm sitting here going, well, why is that? Because I had to fight to be heard in my family.
Right. Oh, I love that. Yes.
So
how close in age were you with your siblings?
We're a 10-year gap, so a little bit smaller, but still big,
Yeah, no, I totally get it, but I can see how you would have to fight, right? Like that's a crowded house, and if you're not vocal, you don't get attention. Yeah, I totally get that.
All right, well, we are going to turn to our very first caller. We're so excited. Elan and I, this is our first time running a radio show, so like we're ready to go to our
What's the worst that could happen?
So I think, Nick Monzi, are you out there? And can we hear from you?
I am, Sarah, Elan. Nice to meet you both. Thanks so much for taking the time. So I'm excited to chat with you both today. Elan, you shared a little bit about context and the power that you have to provide that through your work. That's very, very related to who we are and what we do at Learn Fresh. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Learn Fresh. We're a nonprofit focused on leveraging the power of sports and entertainment to inspire students' STEM education in K-12 learning. So basically what we do is use the things that kids love already, sports, touring artists, and gaming, to get students passionate in their classroom, particularly around math education, science education. When you think about math, it's a space where students often walk into the classroom and feel like the learning doesn't have context with the world around them. And so what we aim to do is bring the things that kids love from the world into their classroom. So we've used digital games as well as physical tabletop games to do this. Our flagship programs include initiatives with the NBA, WNBA, MLBPA, and MLS, and we've reached over 1.2 million students across all 50 states. So, given the focus of our work, I really want to talk to you all about social responsibility and the power that companies have to impact community. We live and have been living in a moment that is somewhat divisive and challenging in a lot of ways, but also through division comes opportunity. And so when you think about how businesses engage with their community, what does corporate social responsibility mean to you, and how can companies work to support the community and the nonprofit sector in the current moment?
What a brilliant. Can we start by saying did you say 1.2 million student users? Can we just take a minute? That's incredible.
Amazing. Amazing. So wait, is this through, you said it's through videos? Like you provide videos that the teachers play in their classrooms?
So we actually have games that mimic the real sport of basketball, baseball, use real player identities, player data, and are licensed by the leagues. And these games are set up in a classroom, almost like fantasy sports league. And so kids start by signing a contract, draft the team, go all the way to. Thank you.
Love it.
Clever.
Love it.
Brilliant.
All right, hold on. But I still have one more clarifying question about your question before we jump in.
Context, Elan.
Yeah, context. That's right. That's right. Let me try to poke at the context around the edges here. Is there a particular, when you say responsibility, corporate responsibility, is there a bad scenario that you're trying to avoid, or something that you're nervous about, potential, like a landmine you're potentially worried about tripping?
I don't think so, but I do think, in the current moment, there's a lot of focus around workforce development, right? So in our space in STEM education, the conversation has shifted from just teaching skills to providing context and helping provide direct pathways into the workforce. And so I think, as someone who works in education, one of the best ways that we can activate that mission is to build public-private partnership, where organizations like ourselves are working with companies to help show students what their skills can do for them in the future. And so we'd love your perspective as people who have worked as leaders in the for-profit sector on how we can best position ourselves as nonprofits to support that space, and vice versa. Why should companies feel energized around this work?
I think, because so if you start, like, the beginning of your question was like sort of around this moment, and it could be considered divisive and all those sorts of things. But I actually like the double click that Elan took you to, because it's kind of like, well, what are you trying to do with your business? Let's start there. And because I do believe when it comes to corporate social responsibility, honestly, it's like doing the right thing is just critical to running a great business, period, end of sentence. Whether or not could be considered divisive. And when I say doing the right thing, like building a business that is good for multiple stakeholders, investors, community, employees, etc. So I think, to me, it's a fundamental sort of plank upon which every business I have built or been involved with runs. And then when you are able to step into those, partnerships, as you said, between private to public, you're able to come and energize the potential buyer, because you are showing that you're already energizing the community. You wouldn't have 1.2 million amazing young student users if you weren't already doing these things right, I would imagine.
Nick, what is the mission statement of your company?
Yeah, so our mission statement is to inspire students' STEM education through the power of sports and entertainment, and drive rigorous exploration through STEM learning.
Okay. And I love that. That is very clear. Really good to maintain that focus. Now, I want to relate that to your question. And what I'm really trying to pick at here is, when you have that clear of a focus of a mission statement, and then you start to ask, like, what is our responsibility? What parts of your mission statement have not already answered that question?
Yeah, so just for context too, we're actually in the nonprofit side of this equation, right? And so that's where we sit. And so for us, it's more the strategy of positioning ourselves so that we can work with our for-profit counterparts. And we have had some success with this so far, but I think companies are always reevaluating their positioning, right? How do they want to show up in the community? Where are they investing, right? And so for us in the current moment, we're just cultivating new opinions and perspectives on, the best way to show up for companies in this moment.
I see. Okay.
Right. Yeah, because I still think that by doing all of those right things, that is leading you to have developed a nonprofit with incredible impact that you're then going to have a conversation with the for-profit sector about, right? So like, I think I just tend to think, I love that Elan took you back to your mission statement, because it's really, why are you in business in the first place, or in nonprofit in the first place? And by staying true to that, right, you're able to generate this kind of impact, which is by definition going to be important to your private sector partners, however you choose to frame that impact to them.
So I think, yeah, Sarah, that's exactly right. And the follow-up for me would be, Nick, how do you choose your partners?
Yeah, so to your point around the mission, it's definitely mission alignment, right? So in the corporate partnerships that we've found to be most successful, an example, Takeda Pharmaceutical, we both have a focus on supporting K-8 math. And so when we're working together to think about establishing a philanthropic relationship, the kind of shared community focus is something that's deeply important for us. And that's a process that we go through for sure with each of the different partners that we work with. We obviously have to have that with the professional sports leagues that we partner with, et cetera. But, it is quite a process on the nonprofit side to vet and work through all the different relationships to continue building.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you just trying to tie a bunch of this stuff together, you have a very clear mission, and it is a complicated process, a rigorous process to find the right partners that share your vision on the corporate side, not on the nonprofit side. And
absolutely,
it is absolutely true that of all the businesses that exist out there, a small percentage are going to be the right match, right? And trying to apply generic terms like what is the responsibility of businesses in this realm, I think is very hard, right? Because every business has their own mission statement, every business has their own goals, every business has their own board of directors and their own measurements of success, on and on and on it goes. And so instead of trying to, any answer that I can think of is going to be so generic that I feel like it would be useless. And instead, what I would say to focus on is the partners, the criteria for finding the partners that you seek. Imagine that defines the set of companies in the world that exist, right? And all the others are just irrelevant. You don't even need to worry about them. And instead, if you focus on that rigorous criteria and look at the pool of companies available to you, I think the answer to your question is these are the good guys. This is our play space. This is the area that we will participate in. This is the area where our values align. This is where everybody is trying. We can make a credible pitch to any of these companies that our goals are aligned with your goals, our responsibilities are aligned with your responsibilities, and we're all going to go forward together. And so I realize it's not the exact answer that you're looking for, but I do think that it's very valid to say, in some senses, you have such a strong vision and such a strong responsibility here that you almost don't need to worry about a generic answer for the entirety of the universe. You need to worry about the answer that you've already supplied to push your business forward and to find the relevant partners.
And there's one double click I would add to that awesome answer, which is related to the moment we're in now, is once you've narrowed in that group of potential partners, also just be super aware of who's dealing with what in any moment, because honestly, some businesses are massively stressed out by the tariff situations, others less so, right? Today. Now, that doesn't mean that 2 years from now, that might, one business's headwinds is another's tailwinds. So it's funny, I had a situation just last week, which was a nonprofit asking me to help them make an introduction to a business I'm involved with, who right now it's they can't even see straight, let alone have that conversation. So I think in terms of your own energy, I love Elan's get really narrow on that group of businesses that you'd want to go after. over the next 10 years, and then get really narrow again to who's it right for in this moment, so that you're sort of really efficient with your time.
Well said.
That absolutely resonates. Yeah, absolutely resonates. And I think in this moment, I'm actually at a conference in the Bay Area right now with a bunch of other nonprofits who are grappling with funding challenges in the sector. And so that advice of kind of honing in and focusing on the closest proximity prospects is really fantastic. Appreciate that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And by the way, because everyone is going to have different headwinds at different times, because even though, there's discussion about recessions, whatever, even think about the pandemic. 1 minute it was a tailwind for someone and then a headwind, that changes. So don't ever sort of feel that, oh gosh, because it's tough economic times, no one's going to invest. It's just, you have to get even more clear on finding the ones that for whom you are the best fit in that moment, I think.
Definitely. During the pandemic, we had a interesting experience because it actually led to a lot of growth for us. So much of what
did it? Oh, yeah.
driven by all that. And so, they say the only way to it is through it. And we've definitely experienced that before and prepared to do it again.
Yeah. And I sometimes think too that Elan, I'd love to hear your perspective on this, but sometimes like a nonprofit, by definition, in recessionary times, it's going to be tougher. But it's often when you hone yourself and the kind of relationships you win in that moment, if you can get through that, you will suddenly get so much stronger on the other side because you've had to be so much more focused. I'm sure, Elan, you would have experienced that.
It's so true. I mean, the two examples really are, for me at least, the pandemic and the current tariff situation, where like when the pandemic first hit, me and every CEO I spoke to was like, well, this is it. We're just going to shutter our company. Hopefully it's just for a little while. And it was only once we started focusing on like, wait a second, if everyone is thinking shutter, right? If everybody is thinking we're going to sit still now for a while and like figure out what comes next, it was only then that we started thinking like, well, some games would make that nicer. Like maybe we can use this as an opportunity. And it's the same thing now where tariffs, it's a roller coaster. And every time we come up with a plan, we have these war room meetings at my company every single day about tariffs, every day. And we come up with a plan. And then the next day the policies change and all of our this every day for the last 3 weeks. And it is so it really tests your patience, but at the same time it's brought us way closer to a lot of other publishers who are going through the exact same problems and banding together, trying to find creative solutions, trying to say we're stronger if there's more of a talk about if there's more leverage we have in these negotiations, and we never would have come together had it not been for this very frustrating tariff situation. So there's always that silver lining, and being aware of to your point, being aware of everybody else's context, their situation will let you figure out how to talk to them and how to find paths forward together.
That's it. And Nick, I think we all have to wrap up with your question now, but I think in closing, the one thing I would say in all of this is whether you're a nonprofit or for-profit, everything's cyclical. And so it's just like getting all of these lessons of being super focused, being mission driven. Do not walk away from the values of why you started that amazing nonprofit in the first place. Just stick with those, because today's headwinds will be a tailwind in the future. And I can't wait to see it, because you're crushing it out there, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well done, Nick.
Thanks for your call, Nick. That was awesome. I'll throw it to you, Elan.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an exciting thing for me to say. We have voicemail, and for our next question, we have someone who called in and left a voicemail, and there's also a short video that we get to play along with it. So let's go to that.
Hi, Sarah and Elan. My name is Ariel Alunga, and I'm the founder and CEO of Carla's Fresh Market, located in Los Angeles, California. In 2023, we opened Carla's in the Highland Park neighborhood of LA with the mission to bring farm fresh produce and quality pantry goods to a vibrant and diverse community. The past 2 years have been a journey with plenty of ups and downs. But I'm committed to creating a space where people can discover delicious food in a warm environment and a business model that fairly compensates local suppliers. We're reimagining the neighborhood grocery store. Carlos is bright and colorful and open. Grocery shopping should be fun, but I can't do it alone. My question has to do with building a great team. As a solo entrepreneur, my instinct is to take on all the challenges by myself. How do I know when it's the right time to delegate? How do I find people that are as passionate about my business as I am and want to help me scale? Thanks so much. And if you're ever in LA, stop by Carlos for a visit.
Oh,
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
What a cool business.
It's such a cool business.
First, we have to go visit Carla's. That looks like the coolest grocery store.
But the founder, Ariel, asks, what's fun? Okay, so the question is essentially, how do I not do everything myself? Right? And I'm going to summarize it all the way down to that, because I'm part of so many different entrepreneurial groups, right? And they're basically like therapy sessions, right? We all sit down and we have coffee and we talk about like how hard this job is. And the topic that has come up at least once a month for maybe 10 years of doing this is, how do I not do everything myself? When is the right time to delegate? How do I find the right people? How do I explain it to them? How do I deal with them not doing as well at it as I know I could do? And how do I trust the process? On and on and on. But it all comes down to, how do I not do everything myself? And I'm gonna share just one quick story that has really guided my thinking on this. Hasn't solved it. I still really, really struggle with this. But I used to be the chief design officer at the Xbox for a long time. We made all these games and all this hardware. Right? So, yeah, and my mentor there was the smartest guy I know. His name is Jordan Weissman. And he is a legend in the video game industry. And he taught me basically everything I know. And I was struggling with exactly this. We were working on this massive project. It had like hundreds of people, each working on their own individual parts, but I was the lead on the project and I started it. And so the first 2 months of the project was literally me just doing everything, writing all the code, doing all the art, writing the schedule and handling the budget and just everything. And I installed a little bed in my office and I would sleep there at night because I bothered to go home. I'm just going to have to be here in 2 hours, right? Like, it was not a good way to live. But, when you're in your 20s, that seems like a reasonable approach to a very difficult problem. Okay, so I eventually started to burn out and the quality of work went way down. And Jordan, right. I know. Yeah. Who would have thunk? And he came to me and he said, you have to start delegating. You have this whole team and they're literally sitting around waiting for you to tell them something, like do something. They're completely underused. And I said, okay, you're totally right. I can't maintain this anymore. And I picked one guy and I gave him a job and he completely screwed it up. Like completely. No. And I was like, well, there we go. I'm installing the bed again because I'm never going home. Right. And he sat down with me, Jordan sat down with me and he said, okay, you said he totally screwed that up. Let's sit down and actually look at the output of his work. And we looked at it, and I won't get into the details, but like what I was describing as a screw up, he was able to recontextualize and describe as a success. And he said, there's a difference between work. And you think they are the same right now. Or sorry, you think different work is equivalent to bad work. And that's bad work. Right. That's your problem, right? And he said, you can make this work for you. If you can just get it in your head that just because something is different, just because someone solved a problem a different way than you would have and produced a different set of output than you would have, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's different. And so this long-winded story, I apologize, but the answer, I think, to Ariel's question about when is the right time to delegate, I believe the answer is whenever you can get it in your head and live that different work does not mean bad work. And as soon as you can say, like, I'm okay with that, I'm ready for that, That's when you go and you hire someone. That's when you give them responsibilities. That's when you mentor them. That's when you do all the smart stuff, right? Define their goals, tell them what the box is that they're working in, define success, all of that. And then their output is not going to be what you expected. And that is not bad.
It's okay. That's how it should be. I love that story because, boy, I feel like I have lived the exact same story in my career. I remember a mentor once saying to me, individual heroics will not get this job done. And it stayed with me forever because that's what you were doing. It's like sleeping in the office, like that is not scalable.
Useless.
That said, I do understand for, particularly this kind of business that we're talking about with Ariel, it's hard to really, hire these kinds of workers and be completely sure they're going to stay with you because they might turn over quite quickly. So I would take a step back and say, the first thing is make sure you spend tons of time in the upfront, really talking to the coworker that you're hiring. Are they as passionate about this business as you're going to need them to? When they bring that different work, if you know that they're coming from the right place and they're caring as much as you're actually going to be more willing to hear it than if you think they're just someone who's mailing it in. So I think there's something to be said for who you bring on in the first place. And then the other thing, I'm curious if you've had this experience, but I do remember early in my career really struggling with the delegation thing. I think we were the same person.
Everybody does.
Everyone does. And then at some point learning when you truly empower someone, you'll be shocked. They might actually come back and do a great job. And once you've had the experience once, you're like, whoa, mind blown, And so sometimes it's like the less you empower, the more that person's going to make a mistake or do it because they're so nervous. Whereas if you let them go at it, having been super clear, are we aligned on the outcome of what we're trying to achieve? You may get there a different way to me, but are we aligned on what we're trying to achieve and when? And now I'm going to see what happens. You might be pleasantly surprised.
It's so true. Okay, so yes, I have another one just like that. One time, it doesn't happen that often that I'm like, wow, that's better than I could have done. But when it happens, it's like, hold on to that person because but I had this. So I was working at Microsoft, and I had an administrative assistant, this woman named Carly McGinnis, and she was very smart, like just amazing at her job. And we were at this point where there was some project that was just going completely off the rails, and I was understaffed and I didn't know what to do. And she was watching me just like sit in my office until 1 and 2 in the morning. And one day she came in and she's like, I just want to help. Like, I'm not trained at any of this, but I'm a really fast learner. And can I please help? And I gave her the task, and she absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I'm going to jump right to the end of the story, which is Carly McGinnis is now the president of Exploding Kittens.
Oh! That's the best.
Isn't that great?
All right. So Ariel, we've got to help you find your next president. It sounds like that person might be right out there. That is amazing.
Yeah. So fun.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're summing this one up with be really, really diligent in the hiring process. Make sure they're as passionate as you. Be super comfortable that different doesn't mean wrong. It might actually be a different way of getting to the outcome. And try your best to empower that really, really passionate person who joins this amazing fresh market business, which we're going to come visit next summer in Los Angeles.
We gotta go. Well said. I love that. All right. I think we're going to our third caller now.
We're throwing to our final caller. Do we have Donna Griffin? Is she out there?
Hi.
Hi, there she is. Do you have a question for us about you and the platform?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and get your advice on what we're doing. So I'm Donna Griffin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Eldera. Eldera is a technology platform that connects generations and brings generations together in a way that's good for young, good for old. and good for society. And we bridge young people with older adults in a way that solves for loneliness in older adults and mental health in kids in virtual conversations. So I started the company, yes, I started the company in 2020, and we initially focused only on intergenerational mentorship. And that worked really well because we're tapping into a human resource that's underutilized. And
Brilliant.
thank you. And then our mission evolved, and we realized, wow, there's so much more we can do with older adults. So now we evolved into a platform where older adults can come and contribute their wisdom to society in a way that makes an impact and leaves a legacy. In the past year, we've also built out our AI capabilities, and we launched an AI chaperone for safety and trust. And we launched our AI powered wisdom portrait that reminds older adults of their individual wisdom and gives them opportunities to contribute to society with that. Long story short, people love our product, and they love the way they love the way they feel when they're connected with someone who really, really cares. And that's what older adults do best. And we've been in the media and in the press, and we've had so much exposure that now we're incredibly fortunate to have all this inbound from people and organizations that want to partner with us and want to build Aldera into their ecosystems. And we're so excited and grateful for this. But my question is, as we're navigating this inbound, how do we protect the soul of the product that people really love, that true one-on-one deep human connection, while also taking advantage of the growth opportunities in education and healthcare and corporate? So how do we decide, what do we say yes to, what do we say no to, and while focusing on the long-term success and impact of our company?
Oh my goodness. All right.
Incredible.
I am going to go first here because I'm going to come from the total opposite direction that Elan might. So this is Dana or Dawn. I think I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Dana?
Dana, but I'll respond.
Dana. It's my accent's a problem. So Dana, no, I am imagining your amazing business 20 years from now. It's going to be like massively world dominating. But one of my challenges in my career, I led the turnaround of the global business Gatorade, the $5 billion global business. And the reason it was needing to be turned around was because they had gone so far away from what their core mission was. Instead of like selling really great products to athletes, it was like, let's just sell it to anyone who needs a hangover cure and is sitting on a couch. And suddenly this really big business stops growing, right? Because it's lost touch of its core. And suddenly competitors come into that core space because they can be more authentic than you. So I am very passionate about this question, Dana, because I think you're super wise to be actually thinking about it this early on. And I think I have seen so many entrepreneurs who get a little bit too excited by the shiny object or the big opportunity that takes them to grow faster. And I actually think the answer to your question kind of goes back to what we said to Nick earlier, which is let's start with the mission of your amazing platform. And let's make sure that you are so true. Every decision, are you being true to the mission? So maybe you can articulate like Nick did, what is the mission of the platform? And even if you're scaling faster, are you still staying true to that mission? And then the last thing I would say is, are you staying within your core? Because a great line that I had said to me once, and I've kept it for my whole career, is your adjacency. So the adjacency to your core business is somebody else's core, which means they're going to compete even faster and heavier and etc. You've created something unique and brilliant and like hasn't been done before that is your core. Are these opportunities taking you outside of that, or are they still in the core? That would be my question for you, Dana.
Thank you. That's a great question. Our mission, so Aldera stands for the era of the elders. And our mission...
Love.
Thank you. we're all going to grow old, so we have to build this infrastructure for our longevity. Our mission is to unlock the time and wisdom of older adults as a new natural resource for society. That's how we think of it. And our first application was to connect older adults with young people in a way that solves one of the biggest healthcare challenges globally, which is the mental health and needs of young people. Now, there are so many other things that older adults are fantastic at just by giving their time and wisdom. And I think that's where the question comes up and where we're getting pulled, right? Do we focus on adults? Can older adults help other adults? Yes, they can. But where do we stop, right? So that's one question. So one exercise that we've done internally with our team that we thought was brilliant, but then it was limited is, okay, we're going to partner with people who are values aligned with us and drive our business results, which is serving every older adult and kid. And it's easy to say no when they're not values aligned and they don't drive the business results, right? It's an easy no. But you know what? Sometimes it's not easy, even when they intersect and they check both boxes, it's not necessarily easy to say yes to that opportunity. So I want to hear what your thoughts are. How do we really, really focus even more, like almost create a checklist of where we go next? What do you think?
Elan, what do you think?
So I was gonna exactly throw this to Sarah, but okay, so hold on. Your question about this about the checklist, like, is essentially like, how do you say yes? Like, what are the criteria to say yes to an opportunity? Okay, I have no idea, but because I'm not very good at telling you why to say yes. I think that's a very personal thing, and I think you really have to internalize your own mission statement, your own values. I cannot tell you how to say yes. You know what I can do? I can tell you how and why to say no. And maybe that'll, in a roundabout way, get you to the same place. So made a little list. I'm going to read this list off. Here we go. So as you look at opportunities, here are, in my experience, the main reasons to say no. Okay, so an easy one is there any risk in association with this brand, with this partnership, with whatever it is? If so, run for the hills. Is it a distraction either to your mission or to your values? And that's really pokes at misalignment. It pokes at distraction, right? Like something could be really, really interesting, but if you focus on your mission, is this actually a distraction? And you've got this little voice in your head that will answer that question very clearly, and you just got to train yourself to listen to that little voice. But apply the criteria, right? Apply, like, say, is this a distraction either to our mission or to our values? And then listen for that voice, and you'll get your answer. The next one I have is overextension.
Yes.
And this is something that you see just obliterate new companies. And you have to be very, very careful. You know what you're capable of. You know what you can just stretch to, and do not go beyond that, because the risk that you will take on in trying to build up the facilities to go beyond your limitations to extend beyond what you're capable of will, I promise you, sink your company.
Could not agree more. +1 on that.
It's just from experience, right? Like I've been there, I've done that. I've got the ruins of a company to show for it. An easy one is lack of resources. And this really ties into overextension, but the lack of resources is like very physical, right? Like, how many people do you have? What does your bank account look like? What is your financial structure look like? What does your cap table look like? What does your loan structure look like? Like, just really be as realistic as possible about what you have and what each partnership is going to take away from that, and then see what you have left. And when you're in the red, that's you've made a mistake. And then the final one is just the ick factor. Like, there is that little voice in your head where when you say, should we do this? Should we do this? Should we do this? Sometimes that little voice just says, ugh, this just feels bad. No, ugh, right? Don't don't dismiss that as trivial. That is a very important part of your brain telling you a very important thing that it cannot articulate. It does not have the vocabulary to tell you why. So it just jumped to the summary, and that summary is just as valid as the why, and you should pay attention to that as well.
The last thing I want to build on and also ask your perspective, Elan, is because one of the things I love the point about don't distract and overextend, because I'm with you. I've seen that kill companies so many times. And I also think, Dana, you are onto something special here. You know it. You just said people love your product, right?
Yeah.
And it seems to me sometimes you're under a lot of pressure, whether it's from investors or whoever, to grow crazy fast. Whereas I think about new businesses a little bit like planting a tree. The deeper the roots are, the stronger and further up the tree is going to go. And so if you haven't built deep enough roots in this first section of the adults to the kids to be ready to go to the next, whatever your next line is, that's when you start to, like, the tree gets heavy and starts way because it hasn't yet got enough deep roots in one place. And so I love that analogy, because I think the number of times I've seen founders, like a company I was lucky enough to be involved with was Strava, you know, the running app. Yeah. And that is a business that, believe it or not, has never, ever spent money on paid marketing to get people to come, because it was so beloved. And they went slowly and surely. And now obviously it's just ginormous. So don't feel, if you're feeling pressure to jump at something, and I love the point about the ick. If you're feeling pressure to go icky, don't do it, because you have something special and it will stay if you nurture it. That would be my general sense.
Can I want to add so smart. One more thing. I've as I was listening, Sarah, as I was listening to you describe that, I was like, I think there's something I do. I've never said this to anyone before, but there's a little tool that I have that might help with this process. I have a dummy email account. It's just it's a generic Gmail account that I created, and all I do when I have a proposal, like someone that wants to partner with me, after I've gone through all the contemplation, yes, no, and I'm still on the fence. I still don't know. Both lists, pro and con, are exactly the same. I have no idea what to do. I write out an email to them saying, let's do it. Here's why I'm excited. Here's all the wonderful, amazing things we're going to do together. Here's the deal structure I propose. Here's everything. And it's a very long email. And I send it to that dummy account. And then I go and I sit down with my wife and I say, I just signed a deal with X. It's done. I just sent the mail. It's done. Here's what. Between her reaction and all those little voices in my head reacting to the mail that I literally hit send and it's gone. Then by the morning, I'm either terrified or elated.
Yep.
And
yes, I love that. Yeah. Yes, sleep on it. That's so good. Getting all those juices. That's amazing.
That's a great strategy. It feels like both of you kind of pushing me towards following our instincts that got us to where we are now, and just really listening.
Totally. Nailed it. Follow the instincts that got you to where you are now. That's it. And my last thing I'll say, and then I know we have to wrap, is just, you have the instincts. You're succeeding for a reason, and don't let someone who's not you force their instincts on you. You've got this far, Dana. You're crushing it. So thank you for an amazing question. That was really great to hear your
Good
story.
luck. You're in such a great position.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
For sure.
All right. I think I'm getting messages now that say we're almost out of time. So I think this
went so quickly.
I know. It went by in a flash. Like we did 3 calls and we're already supposed to be done. All right. Anyway, we are now supposed to bring Jodine back in because she is much smarter than we are and knows what comes next.
I wish, Elan. Oh, this was so good. Elan, that strategy that you use with sending that mail and getting the response from your wife,
brilliant.
I've
Isn't that
got
fun?
to
I
do
can't
that.
believe I've never told anyone that before.
You should have. That's a good
no,
one.
no,
We need
right?
those little tips.
I was listening to you talk, Sarah. I was listening to you talk, and I was like, "Oh, I have a solve for this. Like, there's a thing I do. I should say it out loud." Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Right.
So good. Well, actually, I know we're running short on time, but we do have one more question, if it's okay with you. It's from the chat.
Yeah.
John Terrace, I'm going to read it over here. John Terrace, he's the founder of Venue Booka, which is an events venue booking business in Australia.
Wow.
Australia. Need to find out more about that. How do you break through the chatter of so much social media to bring your cause or your service or your business to the top and get some actual traction?
Oh my.
The question of the year with social media,
for the
right?
ages, not even the year, the millennium.
The millennium, the century. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Okay. Nobody in the whole world is going to be able to answer this question for you. Let's start there. And that will set the stage for whatever stupid thing I'm about to say. I think the best. Okay. All right. I make games for a living. I make tabletop games. And it used to be that we would make a really good game, best game I could, and we put it out on the market, and it would usually sell really well. That worked really well for like the first 2 or 3 years of Exploding Kitten's existence. And around the 4th year, we started to have our first few like not so great successes, and I couldn't quite figure out why. And it turns out that the reason is because having a great game is only half your product. The other half is the ability to sell that product. And we completely switched structures. I don't have a silver bullet for how to make your company shine or how to market your product or any of that. What I do know is that it is different for every company and different for every product. And you could have the greatest company or the greatest product in the world. And if you do not have at least a hypothesis, a working theory on how you might approach this, do not bother putting effort into the amazing product, because that's only half the work, and it will definitely fail without its counterpart.
And I think the only thing I would build on that is, I think you said it was a venue booking business in Australia. By the way, like, we need to know the name of it. I have relations there. I'll send you business. But is just I think one of the things with social media is you only need to be heard by the people that are likely to want to book a venue. So it's like getting super focused on just who are the people that are in the space that matter, and make sure you matter to those who matter. And that may be, I don't know enough about the Australian market, but the conference bookers, the wedding planners, like the little group that matters, and set up a social media platform or stream that's like conversational for them and bringing ideas that are helpful for them. That's who matters.
So smart. So smart.
Yeah.
I love that answer so much.
Yeah. Sarah, Elan, how can I thank you both? But before we wrap, Sarah, happy birthday!
I know it's my birthday. What a way to spend my birthday. This was so fun. Seriously.
I seriously can't believe you're spending your birthday with the Masters of Scale community.
Fun.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for having me. Seriously.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Well, Elan, Sarah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, for taking time out of your day to join us. This has been really, really good. So many good nuggets shared tonight. And I know we're going to share this with our audience in a key takeaway. So thank you so much for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. This was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for
what happened?
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for the great questions too to the whole community.
Yeah,
amazing.
And such good business stories too. I'm super inspired.
Yes. Well, you two are welcome back to Masters of Scale strategy session at any time. So please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Bye, all. Bye. What a way to celebrate Small Business Month and to celebrate Sarah spending her birthday with us. How amazing is that? Well, I've been keeping my eye on the chat all session, and I've seen some really great answers to our opening questions. We're minutes away from announcing our winners, but first, we'd like for you to take a poll. So, strategy session is always changing and always improving thanks to the feedback we get from participants like you. We're giving you 10 seconds to rate how valuable you found today's session. To find the poll, just navigate to the top of the chat. I'm hoping I'm pointing in the right direction here. So go over to the top of the chat. You'll see a tab that says poll. If you're watching on your mobile, you'll find it under the video player. Just collapse the chat and you'll be able to complete the poll. Our 10 seconds starts right now. And we're back. We're back, and here we are. So let's take some time to thank some people that made this event possible first and foremost. Thank you to our entire team at Capital One Business for being such amazing brand partners and co-hosts in this live event space. We get so much from learning alongside from you, so thank you for doing what you do. A huge thank you to our co-hosts, Birthday, Sarah Robb O'Hagan, and Elan Lee, and our three callers, Nick, Ariel, and Donna. Thank you so much for participating and being part of the Masters of Scale community. Now we'd like to thank the entire Masters of Scale team for putting this event together, including our live events producer, Chineme Ezequena, and our partners at Brand Live. And thank you in the chat watching this. Thank you for being here and showing up to this incredible community of growth-minded individuals. We'd love to communicate. We'd love to continue to connect with you at our premier live event that's happening this fall, our Masters of Scale Summit. That's right. Summit is back. It's where leaders like you spark change in their business, their community, and the world. So please apply now. Don't wait. Apply now to join us in person October 7th through the 9th in San Francisco, California. It's going to be a great time, so you want to apply now. Now, be sure to follow Masters of Scale on all of your preferred social platforms. And finally, I'm happy to announce the winners of our giveaway. I heard we had some winners here and I found them. Sebastian Ortez, congratulations to you. Sebastian said, knowing where to find information. That, my friend, is a superpower. And our other winner is Nakia Burnett. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Nakia Burnett. Nakia says, networking, building authentic relationships. Actually, I think that's one of my superpowers too. So thank you, Nakia, for joining us. And thank you for your answers. You will be receiving an awesome Masters of Scale gift from us soon. Thank you for all joining us virtually today. We appreciate you being here and to scale with us. I'm Jodine Dorsey. It's been a pleasure hosting you. We'll keep the chat open, so please continue chatting, continue networking, continue co-elevating, and we look forward to seeing you on August 14th at our next Masters of Scale strategy session. And now, to close us out, here's a teaser for this year's Masters of Scale Summit. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
As we evolve our technology, we evolve our humanity. This is the moment to really pay attention.
It's about demystifying the idea of who gets to be successful.
Dream of your life.
Yeah.
What do you want to contribute? If you're going to build a company, what do you want people to take away from that other than buying something?
There's this sense that it is a zero-sum game in this society. I do not prescribe to that.
Yeah, you said it's impossible. We're going to try it anyway because it's fun.
And suddenly, It's like everything is conspiring to bring you joy.
You start to turn your dreams into plans.
In the spirit of Masters of Scale,
our clock starts now.
This is Masters of Scale Summit.